Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of And Now You Know with Bette and Julz. I'm Bette.
And I'm Julz.
And today we're going to be talking about love bombing and ghosting.
And gaslighting.
This is a very interesting... This is a very interesting topic, and what I have to say about it is...
It's not funny.
It's not funny, and I don't even know where to begin. So first... Go ahead, Julz. Let's have you
okay,
kick
first,
things off.
this is coming from a place of experience.
Yes.
I have been love bombed. I have been gaslighted and gaslit and ghosted. I've done the trifecta. So, and it leaves you feeling very diminished, very disqualified, very unworthy. I mean, the way that I used to describe myself as feeling was I saw myself as a homeless, shaggy dog in a dark alley at midnight begging for, the crumbs.
Yeah.
That's how it makes you feel. And it will diminish you to a point of being literally curled up in a ball in a pit that is very hard to get out of.
Yeah, so
is that a good definition?
That is a very good definition. And here's what we want to say, and this is our prayer for this episode. She has had, I think, probably the most extreme worst case scenario experience. And so what we want to do is shed some light on the extreme of what it can get to, but we also want to share the little subtle things in the beginning that would avoid you from having to experience that. Because I know for a fact that there are signs. There are signs that you see, and many times you chose to ignore it. You choose.
Oh no, not many times. You just flat out chose to ignore it.
Chose to ignore it.
It was there. You were in a place of feeling like you had to chase and beg and claw your way to love. And you, for some odd reason, I'm not going to say you, for some odd reason, thought that was what I deserved.
Yeah. Now, I, again, did not have the extreme that she lived through But
I allowed it, y'all. I just want y'all to know.
Yes. But here's what I am going to say that I did do and that I did experience. I was a people pleaser, and I didn't know that I was codependent. And what I didn't know is that I had this constant need to fix. And so I would see something that seemed like, something that I knew wouldn't work for me. And I would just say to myself, I'll fix that.
Well,
I
used to say I can love him enough to heal him or fix him, your word. But I am just a big lover. I love big, ferociously. And, sometimes it's a little bit too much. And in my current marriage, he lets me love him the way I love. And he loves me the way he loves. But
in your marriage, fast forward through all the things that you've been through, this is what the prayer is for everybody, is that in her current marriage, they both showed up as whole.
Yeah.
And they showed up as whole because they took the time to have the therapy and do the work on themselves before they jumped into this relationship. Right. And this is where I think there's a big disconnect in the, relationship world right now, where I feel like, and I mean, I was one too, where I went through some things where I felt like I enabled a lot of bad behavior. I felt like I saw things that I chose to ignore because I felt like, well, I can make it change. I can help him through this. And where I put myself in a position of having to be a coach, be a therapist, be a mom, be a fixer. And you know what? That's not my job. That's not my job.
I mean, you just become this person who
By the way, a mom to a man.
Yeah,
not to my children.
Right.
A mom to a grown-ass man.
And so let's dive into love bombing.
Right.
So love bombing, to me, and in my experience, has been a person who shows up and they just kind of go overboard with impressing you with maybe flowers and, they fancy restaurants and just talking about you are the quintessential woman.
You're the one I've been looking for.
I've never met anyone. They're just overboard in their affection for you. it's probably something that you haven't ever really experienced, and it feels really good. They're very convincing, so that's probably where the word con artist comes in. And they typically are narcissists that they don't care how they get to where it is they're going. They just know what they want, and they will step on, they will trample, they will lie, they will steal, they will manipulate, they will control, completely disregarding the truth and the outcome and what it's going to do to you. But they get their hooks in you with this love bombing, and then you actually do fall in love with them for real.
Yeah.
But what happens is, in your brain, you are in love with the idea of it. You're not, there's nothing to be in love with when that all stops. And it's, I used to say that there are a lot of people who love, they're euphoric junkies. They love, you know how that first feeling of when you first meet somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, I think I really like him. I think that a lot of love bombers are in love with that feeling, and they probably love the control that they can have over these people and the affection that they get. But then it gets boring, and then the ghosting comes in.
Yep. Now let's talk about ghosting.
Yeah.
So, for ghosting, there's two ways of looking at it. When you are in a place of where maybe you haven't taken the time to heal yourself, where you're really looking for outward love and outward validation, right, from external and not from yourself. Ghosting for some people feels like a form of rejection, and it feels like you're being disregarded, and it really is hurtful.
You are,
because you are, that you're being completely. It's almost like playing around with your emotions. Where they don't care. They don't care how you feel, how sad you are. They don't care that you made plans and they just completely decided to no call, no show. They have decided to just that's why it's called ghosting, because they just totally disappear. But so that's the sad part. And the sad part is when you're coming from a place of you're looking for love, and that can literally, you feel absolutely horrible, like you just want to curl up and die. Now, let me tell you that when you're coming from a place where you have taken some time to learn about you and to really learn how to value yourself and to show yourself, you're worthy, and you show yourself self-love and self-care. When you're coming from that place, if you ever encounter anybody that ghosts you, it's actually pretty awesome, because the first time they ghost you is the first time you're done with them.
Bye.
Because you
Adios.
know how valuable you are, you know how precious your time is, and you will absolutely not put up with it. I think the problem comes in, there's when you have two insecure, hurt people step into the arena of a relationship, that's when chaos happens. Because you have a person who is looking for love, who is maybe hurt, maybe anxious, maybe needy, maybe a people pleaser, maybe codependent, and that person is looking for love. But then the other person is also hurt, has some trauma, some childhood wounds,
issues.
abandonment, fears of rejection. They have their own, and then you guys come together, right? And look, we've been there, done that. So we're not talking about,
we're not talking
we're
about
not saying
anybody.
we're holier than thou.
I'm talking about me.
Yeah,
right
we're
now.
talking about, and mine was a different degree than hers, but it's still the same, where I was a people pleaser, I was codependent, I had no idea what the word meant, but people pleaser, codependent, I was a fixer, and really I was looking for outward love and external love and validation. So that's when we say, just please stop dating. Please stop dating. Find a support group, find a therapist, find people that can help you on your own healing journey. And then when you're ready to step back into the dating arena, you can do it from a place of wholeness and worthiness, and knowing what you deserve, what you will tolerate, and what you will not.
Well, you'll recognize him, and you won't settle for something less than that.
Right.
Because now you've got somebody that you're looking at in the mirror, and you just have taken the rose-colored glasses off, and there's just things that you won't put up with. I mean,
Right.
you know, my husband always says that when Betty and I are doing these episodes, and if his ex-wife is listening and I'm bragging about him all the time, that she's probably going, who is this guy that she's talking about? Well, that's because Jay did do some work. He recognized his part in the failure of his first marriage, and he didn't want to repeat that. And one of my favorite things about my husband is the respect that he shows his ex-wife. It was one of the very first things that attracted me to him, because he cared enough about her to not want to hurt her. And they've got 2 beautiful girls, and I love that.
Yep. And I'll tell you, that's actually on my list.
Yeah.
For me, what is an absolute deal breaker is if a man is disrespectful to his ex, and the fact that, especially when they have kids together, that's an example. You are showing your kids an example of how to treat. I mean, that is their mother. Yeah. And so for me, that shows me that you're not a good communicator, shows me you're not a good leader, shows me you're completely disrespectful, and you don't have the level of, you don't have to be in love with them to respect them. You don't have to be in love with them to have a level of honor.
Right.
Because you shared however many decades with them,
right,
and you still have a family together. Just because the romantic relationship didn't work out, you created a family with that person. Right. And I think that people just disregard that.
They do.
And so you have to be really careful with that. So for me, I am a really good observer. And for me, I don't care about the words that a man says. I care about action. And so I want to see how he treats her. I want to see how he talks about her. Yep. I want to see how he shows up for his kids.
It says a lot.
That says a lot. Because look, the reality is that if you're going to end up being the second or third partner, or whatever chapter we're in, if you're going to end up doing that, how they treated the first one, who was supposed to be the one, that kind of shows me a level of, if they were quick to disregard and disrespect that one, then they're going to quick to do it. They'll be quick to do it to you too.
They will.
And so, you just have to learn to have a level of discernment in that kind of situation.
Right. So I want to go back to the ghosting thing. If you're dating and they are ghosting you now,
get out.
They will ghost you if you marry them. They are showing you who they are.
Yep.
Believe them.
Yeah.
It's not going to change, especially the older they get. My last divorce, I'm in my current marriage, but the last marriage that ended in divorce, he ghosted me pretty early on in our relationship. And then I allowed him to get away with it. So he figured out how he could treat me, what he could do, because I gave him permission to do that. And he did it not only to me, but to our kids. And so I wasn't just dealing with my disappointment. I was dealing with my son that I had with him's disappointment, promises and that weren't kept. And I would try to call him, because I would always get worried and think maybe he was dead in a ditch. That's where my mind goes to. But instead, he was at the club drinking. And then if I asked him where he had been, an explosion would happen. And then it just it was never focused on his actions, because there's
his wrongdoing.
There's no accountability.
Right.
With an individual who is a narcissist. I'm just going to say it. And if you're listening and get mad, I don't care. I don't talk to him at all. So I do better not, because I've got to be able to love him from a distance. And I have forgiven him, because I don't carry that kind of stuff around inside of me. That's why I can say I don't care. If he knows the truth, he'll never admit it. But I let him treat me that way for a long time.
Yeah.
And he would gaslight me constantly. And you talk about a spinning table and chaos in your own mind, and they make you think you're crazy.
Yeah.
Like, we went to a doctor, and the doctor said we need medication. And I said, I'll take it. Somebody's got to take medication. And he wouldn't. And I didn't really need it, but I took it anyway.
Yeah. So this is the part where we say, we want you to be able to see this and address it early on. And by addressing it, we mean get out. By
that is exactly right.
By addressing it, we say pivot. Next.
There is no cure.
There is no cure.
There is no cure.
Do not put yourself in a situation and think that you will love someone out of this.
They won't.
Or that you will fix it.
You won't.
Because that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I was telling Julz that I saw a post on Instagram, and when she shares with me her experiences, I saw this depiction of it, and it literally made me think of her. And so there was this guy, and he had this lady by her shoulders, and he was shaking her. And it's like, we've all heard the whole like shaken baby syndrome,
yes.
and how violent you have to. So it was like that. And her neck was, back and forth, and her shoulders. I mean, he had her gripped so tight, and he was shaking her.
Was this a cartoon or like a
real?
No.
This was a depiction, and it was an actual man and woman
acting
it out.
Oh my
they
God.
wanted to demonstrate what the
violence of
the violence of a narcissist, the violence of the whole cast her out and reel her in thing.
Yeah, that's
and
my
so
saying. Cast her out, reel her in.
He shook her so violently, and then he would hug her really tight and kiss her, and then he would push her away, hug her, and do it again, shake her, and then hug her and kiss her, and then push her back, yep. shake her, and then hug her, and it honestly was it. I had a physical reaction to it. It was very emotional because of the millions and millions of women that actually, some don't make it out. Some don't live through that.
There is a place of humiliation and embarrassment that comes, shame that comes with being in that. I'm a talker, though. I'm a communicator. I don't keep things in. And the good news for me is that my what do I call him? My offender. I'm going to call him my offender. Did this kind of behavior in front of everyone. So he wasn't one who did it behind closed doors. Now, we did look like to a lot of people that we had this beautiful, perfect life. But over time, it just started eroding more. And so when I finally did, I got out of it. And then I went back. I got out of it. I went back because there is a trauma bond. There's an addiction. And it's not, if you know somebody who's in a situation like this, don't just tell them to get out. That is not how this works. It's an addiction.
Really don't make light of the situation, because I have heard this, and Julz and I have talked about this for years, but in other cases also where people say, well, she's being so stupid, why doesn't she just get out?
Right.
And that is just not the case.
It's not how it works. And so I did get out, and then I went back, and then I got out, and then I went back, and then I got him out, and then he came back. And it was just this, it's the shake and hug, cast her out, reel her in, cast her out, reel her in. And my therapist told me that it is an addiction, and it is harder to break the habit than getting off of heroin. It's like a drug. It is the most bizarre thing. So the last time I got out, I knew what I was going to feel. And I braced myself from the storm, and I visualized myself laying in the palm, Jesus holding me. And that was where I was safe. But man, let me tell you.
Well, let me tell you.
It was painful.
Not only... She knew that she was going to need support to get out of it and to stay out of it. So this is where we say, if you find yourself in it, you need a therapist, you need a community of people to support you, you need a plan. You need a plan so that you know how you're going to get out of it. But that is if you're in it. What we're praying for here, and why we're even having this conversation, is that you don't allow it to ever get to that.
Right.
Because when you are in the dating pool and you're meeting people, this is the small little things, the glimpses that you see is when they love bomb you, and they are in such a rush to have you fall in love with this picture.
Yeah, let's move in together. And you've only been going out for 2 months.
Yeah, that's a hell no.
I love you so much. I know you're the one I want to share my life with the rest of my days.
And the response to that is
no,
and you want to see action before you see these grandiose promises and words. You want to see what kind of action, because if they're ghosting you early on, be done with them.
Oh my gosh, please.
If they're not consistent, if they're not showing up for you, if they're not communicating, if you don't have clarity as to the direction that you're going in, if you don't know anything about them, if they're isolating you, like there's so many little things that happen that then escalate and become this huge, really life-threatening.
And then you are damaged.
Right.
And then you may think that it's going to hurt to end it then. Wait until you have gotten married, you've bought a house, you've got kids, you've got friends, you've got family, you're all mixed up together, and then you have to figure out a way to get out of it. Yeah. It may hurt for just a moment, but if you give that relationship 20 years, it's an entirely different beast.
Yeah.
And you still are connected to them through the children. And my son, when he turned 18, I realized that I could talk to him about him and not go to his father and talk to his father about him. I didn't need to do that anymore. And that is very freeing, because I'm in charge of I get to pick how I'm treated. And so do you. And and nobody can tell me, I didn't know that he was going to act like that. Yes, you do. You are sitting there pretending, because I did that. I covered it up. I had my friends, everybody going, don't do this. And I did it anyway. And the morning that we were getting married, I said, I can't do this. I even knew that day, because the night before he had treated me a way that was completely unacceptable. Yeah. And here we go. The classic line, I am just nervous. I will never do it again. And let me tell you, people, it escalated and escalated to levels of control and manipulation that it is a miracle that I'm alive.
Yeah.
My therapist told me it is a horrific. He told me I'm horrifically codependent, and I was allowing it, and that I was just a single movement away from being dead.
Yeah. So as horrendous as the story is, and she left out a lot of details, as horrible as that is, it really, if you are listening to her story and using some of that wisdom to protect yourself, you can avoid it. Mm-hmm. You can avoid it if you go all the way back. And really, the way you avoid it is to love yourself first. The way you avoid it is to strengthen yourself, to figure out what within you, because if you are attracted to someone and they are treating you a certain kind of way, what makes you think that you deserve that? And what would let you think, oh, I'm just going to keep allowing it?
No.
So when you see it, if you don't automatically run in the other direction, we want an alarm bell to go off in your head, and we want you to hear our voices and hear our words. Mm-hmm. If you're ever in that situation where then you think to yourself, I need to stop dating and I need to focus on myself, mm-hmm. because that's how you protect yourself from ever getting to a situation like this, is to prevent it to begin with. But how do you know to prevent it? By making sure that in the beginning you don't tolerate bad behavior. Yep. You don't accept breadcrumbs. You don't accept inconsistency and ghosting. Now, the way that I see ghosting is, I see it as rejection is God's protection. Mm-hmm. If somebody ghosts me, I'm saying thank you. Thank you for that. Lose my number. Never call me back. Because a lot of times you get ghosted, and then weeks or months later, somebody will send you a message saying, hey, how are you? Are you free tonight? And it's like, look, you ghosted me once. You got that one time that you ghosted me, forget my name and number. Mm-hmm. Like, don't ever call me back.
Block them. Then you won't get those. You don't need them to call you.
If you don't have the ability to cut things off and quickly just detach from a situation, then that's where I would say perhaps some counseling or therapy or conversations are needed before even continuing in the dating world. Because I will tell you, I was never in a situation like Julz was in, but I remember early in my dating and even kind of throughout my marriage, but specifically in dating, because after being with the same person for 20 years, you don't know how to date, right?
Yeah.
And so when I did start dating, I felt so naive and I didn't really know how to play the game, right? And so for me, I remember seeing some things that I felt like, that didn't really feel good. That didn't feel good. And, why didn't he do this instead? And I would call her and I would say, this is what he did. And some of the things for me, I would 100% never do that again. So for me, I feel like I'm grateful for the experience because now I can say what I would never do again. But at the same time, I also feel like partially I wasn't really prepared to date because I hadn't put those pillars of protection around myself yet because I didn't know. I didn't know that I was a people pleaser. I didn't know that I was codependent. I didn't know that my automatic reaction is to fix people, but it was to fix outwardly because I didn't know how to fix inward. And so if you come from a place of now where I sit today, where I feel like I've spent a lot of time and energy into learning so much about me and uncovering why I do the things I do and why I think the way I think. And now I'm so much stronger, but first and foremost, I love me. I love me, and I would never allow that type of treatment.
It's really so freeing if you give yourself a chance to understand psychologically why you do things. And because I've got so many different visuals inside of my mind how I used to view myself because I became so disqualified and I became so diminished in my dysfunctional comfort zone of codependency and people pleasing and all of that I would look at myself in the mirror in the mornings when I was putting on my makeup and say, you are such a stupid bitch. Those were the words I was saying to myself. I saw myself as a shaggy, homeless dog walking down the alley at night after people had set their trash out, and that's what I thought I deserved. That is really what I was getting out of my relationships. It looked pretty. We had a big, beautiful house. We had fancy cars. I got to shop at all the best stores. But man, none of that matters if love isn't there.
Right.
Real, true love and caring and concern. Because if they don't have your best interests at heart, that's not love. If they don't call you and say, I'm running late, it's not love. I remember us at a restaurant a few years ago with a really good friend of ours, and she had been dating this guy for like 4 months, and she was just so heartbroken because she had seen him a couple of weeks earlier, and she said, and then he just disappeared. And I'm like, what do you mean he disappeared? And then she saw him, so he wasn't dead or anything, but they've been going out for 4 months.
Yeah, that to me is so shocking.
Just get some balls and say, I don't want to see you anymore.
Yes. Okay, that's where I 100% I'm going to say two things.
Sorry. I am very passionate about this.
Yes, this topic is so heavy and it's so serious, but that is funny and I'm glad that you threw it in there. But to be honest with you, there is a level of they're cowards. Anybody that ghosts, whether it's a man or a woman, women do it too.
Yeah, they do.
Anybody that ghosts is a complete coward and honestly shouldn't be dating and shouldn't be talking to other humans. I feel like, let's be grown-ups about this. And if it doesn't, if you are having a date or a conversation with somebody and you're in a relationship and it's not working out, just say so.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Everybody has a perfect match and nobody's perfect, but everybody has a perfect match. So if you're not aligned with that person, then just say, it's okay. This isn't going to work out for me. It doesn't feel like the right fit, but I hope you find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Julz has crafted the most perfect text that I have used.
Yeah, it's in my note. I still have it. I don't need it because I'm not going to send it to Jay, but
but it's about communication and clarity. And I think this is where I feel like if somebody is willing to operate from that place, first of all, that makes them anybody that is interested in operating and playing those games, they are so insecure and they have so much fear of rejection. They probably have some abandonment wounds from their past.
They are broken.
There's so many things that you could pile into, the pile of shit that then becomes this kind of behavior. But just know that you don't deserve it and that you're not going to be the one to fix it.
Right.
So don't put yourself in a position to have to be the one to receive it. And you know, it's funny because Julz taught me this years ago, and you teach people how to treat you.
You absolutely do.
You do. And you know, that unless you treat you with so much love and respect, unless you do that for yourself first, how are you going to demand that of anyone else?
Right.
So
and
so you're not, and then you're gonna accept that.
And when you have healed and you find that person, it's not hard for them to treat you the way that you want to be treated.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that my husband wakes up every morning and tries to figure out how he's going to serve me. I mean, I can't outserve him. I have to be careful what I say. Like we just had to have our HVAC entire thing repaired. That's super fun.
Yeah.
And the guy needed to come back over to put the frame and the ladder back up to our attic because they had to take it down and open that open spot to get the equipment up in the attic. And my car was in the garage, and I had my keys, and I was like, I'm gonna go move my car. He jumped up and he was like, I'll get it. Yeah. I have to be careful. I needed to not say that. I have to wait. I need to not say those things and just go do it because he wants me to sit on the couch and be a princess.
So this is what I love. This is what I love about Jay, and this is what I love about Julz and their relationship. And this is what I think what we're all looking for is, you know, we talk about equally yoked all the time. But the reason why that's so important is because I want to bring to the relationship the same energy that's being reciprocated back to me. And if I want to outserve my partner, he better be trying to outserve me.
Right.
And I don't say that from a place of like arrogance. I say that from a place of, this is what I'm bringing. This is who I am. I want to do these things for you. And if you don't have that same level of love, consideration, and care for me, this is not going to work.
No,
it's
you're not
going to
equal.
Work.
You're going to end up allowing that person to suck all your creamy goodness out of you.
Right.
And there are a lot of emotional vampires out there, and they're the ones that are doing the ghosting. They're the ones that are doing the gaslighting. They're the ones who are doing the love bombing because they just want to get you in their claws. I knew a guy a long time ago. He's super wealthy. And he just kept asking me, why can't I find love? And I said, because you are giving them all this stuff, flying them on your private plane and going out on yachts and doing all this stuff. And I said, they don't know if they love you or not. That was a form of love bombing because he really struggled. But you know what? I've learned that a lot of these people that do this kind of stuff, that's all they have to offer.
Yeah.
They don't have anything else. And because they're so, is destitute the word? They're so drained and empty themselves, and they haven't taken the time to look in the mirror and recognize their own dysfunction and that they are the common denominator in the failures of their lives, whether it's marriage or, being a failure can be something different for one person, and it's kind of like success. Success has many.
How you define it,
right? And so you have to look in the mirror and recognize what you're doing.
Yep.
And take care of you. And I feel so fortunate that I found Jay and that Jay found me. And it didn't seem like it was that hard, but it was really hard to find Jay.
Well, it's the whole history of what you had to go through to find Jay. You've said this before, where if you had met Jay 20 years previous, you guys would have not worked out because you were completely two different versions of each other.
Yeah, we both had gone through the torture that we allowed to happen. We did it to ourselves, and then we both somehow or another realized that wasn't how we wanted to live. We wanted to be more authentic, and it's not that we weren't, but we weren't authentic with ourselves. So, it's inside of you that you've got to be real with you, and then you can be real with other people, and then you're going to attract the real people.
Yeah. And I have learned so much, and I've learned so much through so many experiences. And honestly, it's actually very simple. It's very simple, and we overcomplicate it because at the end of the day, if you show up and you want a relationship and you're looking for somebody to be whole like you are, if that's how you're showing up, then you know what you desire, what you deserve, and the second that it's not there, you have absolutely no problem turning around and marching on out. And I think the problem comes in where you have this clingy, needy need to attach because you have to make it work as if that is your only option in life. Well, and that's where you get yourself in trouble because you're grasping onto things. Well, number one, that's where I question the wholeness, and that's where the concern comes in. And so, if that's how you feel in a relationship, or that's how you feel in the dating pool, that it feels like this anxiety because you feel like you need to stick it out, then I would say it's probably in your best interest to cut all ties and go seek some therapy and get some support and not date at all until you're in a place where you know what you deserve and what you will accept. And if that's not what it is, then you absolutely, we talked about this in another episode where there is and it's a growing population, a growing percentage of women that are single and happier than ever. And I will tell you, some people are okay never dating again, never getting married again. And these people are saying that they have found so much self-love and so much peace, and they're living their best lives. And so I commend that. I think that's awesome because they went on this healing journey to find and rediscover themselves. But when I talk about the healing journey and when I talk about doing all that stuff, it's not supposed to be a sad, lonely road. No. It's supposed to be because you love and value yourself so much that you want to do this for yourself because you know what you deserve.
Right.
And so the women that have decided to be alone, I commend them.
Right.
That's awesome. But the women that have decided to better themselves, that still want a partner, that's okay too. Just make sure you find the right partner.
Right. Don't do it. If you are lonely, then that just means that you need to keep pushing through that loneliness until you get to a place to where you are enjoying your life, whether someone is there or not.
Right.
Period.
I completely agree with that. Completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing through it. I mean, honestly, guys, if you are as horrifically codependent as I was, I had to get a guide. It was like climbing Mount Everest. I would never attempt that without a Sherpa. Isn't that what they're called?
Yeah.
I need somebody that's going to tell me when I need to put oxygen on, when it's time to stop and rest and eat, and help me if I get disoriented. And when you get to the top and you get to look at that view, it's just do yourself a favor and do the work.
Right.
So we're going to talk more about this. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say it's worth doing the work. It's worth taking the time. It's worth stopping whatever situation you're in and making sure that you have that level of preparedness, like you're saying, the guidance, and put yourself in the position to have the most success and be able to enjoy it as much as possible when it's the right one, rather than the struggle of trying to make the wrong one work.
Right. It's I had a great thought and it flew out of my mind.
It'll come back.
I just make sure that you're doing yourself the favor of recognizing behavior early on that isn't sitting well with your soul. Those are the signs. And if you allow certain treatment to continue, then it will continue. And then you're going to have to live with that, or you're going to have to figure out how you can get out of it. And it's much easier at the beginning to just say, you know what, this isn't. Here's my copy and paste text.
Yep.
I appreciate your time. Unfortunately, I don't feel the chemistry that I'm looking for with you. I hope you find what you're looking for, and I'm going to continue on with my journey. That's it.
Seriously, rewind, type that into the note section of your phone and use it next time you need to end something, and end it quickly, because I'll tell you right now, I said this in the Mulligans episode. If you haven't watched the Mulligans one, that's a really good one. And that really helps you kind of to prepare you on the journey, the mulligan and the list and all of that. But, when you are coming from a place where you see these signs early on, you refuse to give mulligans freely because they become red flags.
Yeah.
And so then there's no need, because at here we are talking about chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, whatever stage of life you're in. And wherever we are now, there's no fixing. There's no changing. Mm-mm. Whoever is changing is only changing themselves. Mm-hmm. There is no changing or fixing of someone else.
No.
So you have to be okay with, when you see someone, you have to be willing to accept them as they are. And I'm not saying accept the bad treatment or the bad behavior. I'm saying you're not changing it. So if they are not the person that you're looking for with the ideal characteristics, with the ideal, all of those things that you're looking for in your partner that's on your list, then there is no reason for it to go on past the first date.
No.
Or even the second date. As soon as you uncover that, nope, not for me, not equally yoked, not sharing the same values, not aligned, not sharing the same beliefs, as soon as you identify it, that is absolutely not a mulligan conversation. That is a copy and paste, text conversation.
Yeah, I've told Betty, we spend time with people to see if we want to spend time with them. And if you figure out that you don't want to spend time with them anymore, let them know.
Let them
get
know.
out. Hit the road. Hit the road, Jack.
And preferably, don't ghost people.
No, do not ghost.
Say something.
Come on.
Send them the text. Hey, if it's early on, send them the text.
Yeah.
If you want to have a phone call or an in-person meeting, if you guys have been, dating, I do think that there's a level of love and respect that everybody needs. Mm-hmm. Even if you're choosing to end it and go your separate ways, they're still human. They're still human, and they still deserve a level of, grace. Just
unless they've done that shaking
they've done the shaking thing, then you have our permission to ghost them.
Yes,
but aside from
never
that,
talk. You can simply say in all caps, "I never want to talk to you again!"
Yes.
Exclamation mark. So we got to wrap this up.
Well,
we could talk about this forever. It's a big subject, and we will. There's more.
Will. This one's a little. It's a heavy one because the love bombing, the ghosting, and the gaslighting, they are really big problems, and there are people that are victims of it. Here's where the issue comes in, and this is where it's a little uncomfortable. This is where the accountability comes in. You're allowing it. Yep. If you're not changing it, you are choosing it. Yep. So at the moment that you realize that you're being love bombed, that you're being gaslit, that people are ghosting you, and you let them come back 4, 5, 6, 7 dozens of times, this is where we say you're no longer the victim. You're the co-creator of it. And that's not where you want to be, and that's not where we want you to be either.
Well, I don't. You are a victim, but it's because of your codependency and your people pleasing and your need to just have a warm body next to you. It's something that you truly need to look in the mirror at yourself and realize that you are actually the problem because you're allowing it. So don't allow it.
Don't allow it. You deserve so much. We say this to you from so much love because you deserve so much more. You are worthy of so much more. You are worthy of everything that you desire, of everything that you've ever dreamed of. And that comes from a place of clarity and love and respect, not from love bombing, gaslighting, and ghosting.
No.
So we say all that to you, and shoot us an email if you want to continue the conversation. Go ahead and add some comments down below. We would love to hear from you. Our email address is hello@bettyandjulz.com, BETTE.
And JULZ.
And thank you so much for joining us. We will absolutely continue this conversation, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.